All right, let's turn our attention to the mask mandates and the CDC. So this back and forth waffling from the Biden administration is confusing a lot of businesses. It's confusing a lot of politicians within the Biden administration itself. I don't even think President Biden knows what the hell he's even talking about when questioned by reporters on what is actually happening with the mask mandates.
Come on, man.
Sorry, Joe, that's actually the case. So earlier today, he was asked in an interview, hey, what's going on here? He was actually on the tarmac out, I think, in Pittsburgh, and he was asked about the masks. Like, what's going on here? Your CDC is now saying that they are going to try to fight this extension, this overturning by the judge. We're going to fight this now because we really think people need to be wearing masks again on transportation and public transportation, et cetera. So a reporter asked him earlier this afternoon, where do you stand on this?
This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You did a great job up here.
We tried. You know, this is a lot of economic impact for the
I
city.
brought some extra workers here.
Yeah.
Mr. President, should people continue to wear masks on planes?
That's up to them.
Are you going to like to appeal the ruling or the ruling that the judge made striking down the mandate?
I haven't spoken to the CDC yet. So, thank you. All right. So, here we are.
Well, that was not actually updated information because the Justice Department already has said that they will appeal the ruling and try to reinstate the mask mandate because the CDC says that these things continue to remain necessary. For now, that doesn't mean that passengers must still wear masks because the rule was struck down. And that stays in place until the appeal is filed. Now, the Justice Department can ask for an injunction saying put the mask mandate back in place while we litigate, but they haven't done that. But you know, the Wall Street Journal points out that this is pretty risky thing to do because if the Justice Department appeals this and loses, then they lose the ability to put in place more such mandates, right? Because it's been already put into stone that the CDC can't take these leaps without going through the proper protocol, which they have enjoyed during the pandemic.
I mean, can we talk about the science here? We now know the CDC has published on its own website the science behind mask mandates. We now have the data. We've covered it here on the show, internationally, not just in the United States, but Germany versus Sweden, et cetera. European data points on all of this. Countries around the world have gotten rid of these mask mandates. States have already been doing this, and the data is in on counties across the United States that had no mask mandates and did, by the way, just fine in all of this.
And also the CDC is acknowledging, because what they're saying is that masks, here's their statement, remain necessary for the public health. But they acknowledge that on an airplane, ventilation is actually quite good. So that's less of a concern. What they say is a concern is airport and bus terminals. But I think we shouldn't get too stuck on whether or not masks work, even though the CDC is saying that they do not stop the spread of COVID. But whether or not the CDC had the authority to issue this is what's at stake. Not necessarily what the science is, but is this government overreach? And I think we shouldn't get too caught up in the mask part. We should really be concerned about these emergency powers.
Well, someone's not even caught up in the mask part. Someone doesn't even know where the hell he is. I mean, President Biden was asked not only on the tarmac about the mask mandates, he said it's up to the individual. It's up to the individual. I haven't talked to the CDC. I have really? You haven't even had a conversation about it?
Right. Again, I said last night, that's very troubling because it was your administration that extended the mask mandate in the first place.
Right.
So we would hope that you did that based on science. Well, for you to say, I haven't updated myself on the science, then the follow-up question should be, well, why'd you extend the mask mandate in the first place?
Well, another follow-up question should have been, well, why is Jen Psaki, your White House press secretary, out at the podium saying this about masks then, if you haven't talked to them yet?
Authority with the mask mandate in airports. What's the White House position?
The CDC recommended continuing the order for additional time, 2 weeks, to be able to assess the latest science in keeping with its responsibility to protect the American people. So this is obviously a disappointing decision. The CDC continues recommending wearing a mask in public transit. As you know, this just came out this afternoon. So right now, the Department of Homeland Security, who would be implementing, and the CDC are reviewing the decision. And of course, the Department of Justice would make any determinations about litigation.
Okay, so why aren't you president of the United States then? Because it seems like your own president doesn't know what the hell, which way is up. He was even asked later on about this. Again, another opportunity to talk about this. He was asked a question specifically about Title 42, okay, which has to do with immigration, of course, at the border, right? Overturning Title 42 from President Trump, and it's like he heard the question. And then he literally stuck both Title 42 together with the mask mandate. Listen to his response on this question about Title 42. Makes no sense.
Mr. President. On Title 42, sir, are you considering delaying lifting Title 42?
No, what I'm considering is continuing to hear from first of all, there's going to be an appeal by the Justice Department. Because as a matter of principle, we want to be able to be in a position where if in fact it is strongly concluded by the scientists that we need Title 42, we be able to do that. But there has been no decision on.
Yes, he's answering the wrong question.
No. But he's talking about the science behind Title 42, which there's no science behind Title 42. It's an immigration question.
Well, demographers might argue that it's a science.
Yeah,
All right, go
it's
ahead,
one
Philip.
of those. Oh, I'm just gonna say it's like you've heard the term fake it till you've made it. He's made it. Stop faking it. Like if you don't understand the question, that was the most political answer to something that I don't know what you're talking about. But we got to refer to the science on because it would be different if he went into masks. Like maybe he misunderstood the question, but he even said the science on Article 42. Like he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, the science on Title 42.
Yeah, but I do think that he got confused. I don't think he was trying to fake it. I really think that he was thinking that Title 42 had to do with the mask mandate.
Yeah, this is your president of the United States. This is who runs the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, who is funneling billions of dollars in weapons to a proxy war in Ukraine, which is knocking on Russia's doorstep. Mm-hmm. That's your president. He's confused over a question about Title 42, and then confused as to whether or not his administration is doing anything to overturn mask mandates. But your press secretary has a ready-made answer, but you're not on the same page on that?
Let's pretend for just 1 second that he answered that question about the mask mandates, because if you replace mask mandates with when he says Title 42, that answer makes sense more than what he had said earlier when he was walking outside with that other dude, right?
Right.
So he actually is saying the Justice Department is going to appeal it. We are waiting for the science. So if we pretend he was answering the question about mask mandates, at least that is the most up-to-date White House answer.
Well, here's Candace Owens on this issue. She says, I'm sick and tired of them waffling on this. She went on a rant last night about our freedoms.
I am as relieved as I am that I can go on a plane and not wear a mask. I don't feel like this is a win because we shouldn't be cheering on the restoration of our basic human rights. We should be infuriated and we should want to see these people face consequences because guess what, Tucker? The CDC broke the law. That's what the ruling says. It was unconstitutional. Similarly, OSHA broke the law. They were trying to overreach and decide if they could do things that they had entirely no powers to do so. When regular people break the law, Tucker, they go to prison. Why is Rachel Walensky and the CDC and the members of the FDA and the drug cartel that's operating our country any exception to that rule? It's
great question. They get away with it.
Yeah, I can't argue with
you can't argue with that, right?
I'm thinking about how I would like to.
I mean, she makes the point. She's like, the people that were thrown off planes. You had special needs children that literally, didn't understand why there was a mask on their face in the first place, or 2-year-olds that don't know, what is this thing on my face? I'm a 2-year-old and I have to wear a mask on a ridiculous. And now we have the science. We know the science. By the way, they knew the science ahead of time. They knew it was there to begin with.
Well, you would hope because they put the law in place. Hopefully, but because of science, not because of government control. Although, this is making me wonder. Not for the first time.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to scream. Maybe I did.
I don't think you're screaming.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
don't think you're screaming.
do that.
I mean, it was pretty clear. It was pretty clear they knew about the science in Article 42 if you'd have read it.
Right. Title 42 says it. Nefak in our chat says, I have a special needs child. She will not keep the mask on. Always rips it off.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess violating the law. You know, it was encouraging today to see Delta come out and the airline saying, Delta, by the way, had a number of people they were not allowing to ever fly on Delta Airlines while the mask mandates were in place. People they threw off their planes because they wouldn't wear a mask. They are now reversing those orders now that the mask policy has been, they're reversing that policy. So if these people were kicked off of a plane because they refused to wear a mask, they're being allowed back on
But
now.
was it also the people who punched and bit?
I don't know about those people.
Okay.
But like people like Rob O'Neill, by the way, who is the man who killed Osama bin Laden, U.S. Navy SEAL, on a Delta flight, if you'll recall, early on, said, I'm not wearing a mask. Like, I fought for my country and, you know, I was sent into Abbottabad, Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden. You're not putting a mask on my face. And you could have said whatever you wanted to about Rob O'Neill at the time. Delta had a thought on it and they kicked him off their plane. Now I guess they're reversing that policy. So
that guy gets back.
yeah. So there you go.